In this video, I'll be unboxing and reviewing the Hohem iSteady MT2. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified once I upload a new video. The gimbal comes in a nice carrying case. Once open, we can see multiple control cables to connect to different cameras or devices to the gimbal, as well as a user guide. There's a camera quick release plate, an adapter for an action camera, a smartphone mount, and a tripod for the gimbal, which will attach to the bottom. On the next level, there's an L bracket, and the gimbal itself. There's also the AI vision sensor, which is usually sold separately. The AI vision sensor magnetically attaches to the gimbal. The MT2 is a 3-axis camera gimbal, all of which will need to be calibrated or balanced with your camera. There's the tilt axis, the roll axis, and the pan axis. Now, one thing that I found that could be improved on would be the balancing and overall setup for beginners. Hohem does provide clear video directions on how to balance and set up the gimbal, but I feel they should go more into detail for people who have never used the gimbal before. For example, if the balancing should be done before turning on the gimbal or while it's already on. I personally didn't know since it's the first time I'm using a gimbal, so from what I read online, I was guided to balance the camera first before turning on the gimbal. So moving on, the charger port on the gimbal is located here, and there are additional mounting brackets to mount accessories to the gimbal. There are also 2 additional USB-C ports, one to connect your camera to the gimbal to control the camera, and a USB-C out to charge your camera or smartphone if it's low on battery directly from the gimbal's built-in battery. An additional 1/4-inch mount is located on top, adding to the flexibility of the gimbal. With the L bracket, you'd be able to quickly switch to portrait mode by just unlocking the latch, pressing the button and pulling it out, switching it over and putting it back in, and locking it again. Keep in mind you'll have to rebalance the camera once you switch to orientation. To power it on, you just press and hold the power button for 2 seconds, and you're ready to go. The joystick can be used to manually rotate the gimbal. The orange button can be used to manually focus by pressing down halfway, or to take pictures or start recording when fully pressed. There's also the mode button, which can alternate between the gimbal modes by pressing once, and by pressing and holding, it'll bring up the manual settings for each axis motor. With the A to B motion buttons, you can hold down A until you hear a beep to set the starting point, and then move the camera to the next position and press and hold down B until you hear the beep again to set the ending point. If you want to set the gimbal to the default starting position, you can double click the trigger and it'll revert back to the default or neutral position. Now if you press the trigger 3 times, it'll rotate 180 degrees. If you click and hold the trigger, it'll place the gimbal in sport mode. When the mode button is pressed 3 times in a row, it'll go into ICP mode, which will face the camera up and rotate 360 degrees indefinitely. Pushing and holding the toggle for 2 seconds will turn on the AI fill light. The toggle can be rolled back and forth to decrease and increase the brightness of the light. By pushing it down one more time while the light is enabled, you can roll the toggle back and forth to go from soft white to bright white. And by pushing it down 3 times in a row, it'll switch to RGB color mode, and you can roll the toggle back and forth to choose what color you want. The Hohem iSteady MT2 supports gesture controls. By giving it the OK signal with your hand, it'll track you and keep you in the frame. And by holding the stop signal with your hand, the motion tracking will stop. You can control your camera and take pictures or videos with the MT2 controls while it's connected via cable to your device. Or you can use the Bluetooth and connect it to a smartphone and control it via the app on the smartphone. This comes in handy if you want to remotely control the gimbal from a distance. This supports a payload of up to 1.2 kilograms. It's great for smartphones and mirrorless and action cameras. For specific camera compatibility, you can check their website, which will be linked in the description. With this gimbal, you can use it standalone so you don't have to use the smartphone app. However, with the app, there are additional features you can make use of. It has a 2600 mAh battery, which can last up to 17 hours. The gimbal itself weighs 653 grams. Bottom line, the iSteady MT2 will take your recordings to another level and give it that professional look. Here's some footage I took with the MT2, and if you're interested in this gimbal, I'll have links in the description.